cattle industry is one of the most important to Northern Australia. For Indigenous people living in remote areas where jobs are few, stock work has been some of the most accessible. But years of disadvantage and dislocation have broken down some of the links between cattle stations and Indigenous communities. Gina McKeon reports the industry hopes a youth stockman training program in Ngukurr will be a good model for getting more Indigenous workers into jobs.
Get out, get back. Well, confidence grows like you wouldn't believe. They become different people because of their confidence and because they can realise they can do something.
Stockman Toby Gorringe has been on the back of a horse, mustering a herd for most of his life. But these days, his role on the land has changed. He's mustering a mob of a different kind. Toby Gorringe teaches rural operations in the remote East Arnhem Land community of Ngukurr. Here, students from the local school learn how to care for horses, how to ride and muster cattle.
It is fun getting out from the classroom and having fun with my friends.
It's very fun down here in the horse yard. That's why we like coming down here every day, or even in the weekends, or even on our holidays.
As well as the basics, Toby Gorringe is hoping to pass on other valuable skills.
The horses are just a tool to get the kids down here and get them doing things, and whether they want to be a stockman when they're finished here or not, it doesn't really matter. As long as they learn how to work and be responsible for other things besides and themselves. All right, keep going. I'll have a little trot. Trot only trot. If you trust someone, they'll trust you. If you give a kid responsibility, he will act responsible. And people forget that.
All the kids that are actually involved in the program are the ones now that are probably the best attenders at school. They're probably the most behaved at school. Support from parents helps, everything.
Tony Tree is the assistant principal at the local Ngukurr school. He says other teachers at the school and the local community have noticed changes in the students too.
The concentration, the ability to think a little bit laterally, to work with each other, all those things that outside of the actual formal education.
Tony Tree also hopes the training will create opportunities on local cattle stations for the students once they finish school.
It provides a pathway for employment within the region, so they don't actually have to leave home, which I think is good.
But Toby Gorringe and some community elders say students who want these jobs face a barrier. He believes some cattle stations in the Northern Territory are hesitant to hire Indigenous workers. The Northern Territory Cattlemen's Association acknowledges there is some resistance.
The reticence of people not to employ them, or the reticence to employ them, is probably lack of understanding and experience with them, because you've got to appreciate that it's a different culture altogether than us.
David Warriner believes the loss of Aboriginal stockmen in the industry is a tragedy. He thinks this loss may be due in part to huge cultural and social pressures faced by young people living in remote Indigenous communities, which become obstacles to them completing their education and becoming job ready.
I think the main problem is it's no secret, it's the grog and, substance abuse. And I think, if we can get them when they're 14 or 15 or 16 and prepare them for that, and they know the impact of alcohol, substance abuse, of not working, all of these sort of things, it could prepare them a bit better rather than try and grab them when they're 17 or 18 and unprepared.
But David Warriner is hopeful that targeting more vocational training at remote young people at an earlier age will help, and the Ngukurr program appears to be a good model. He thinks, however, it will take years before the industry could ever employ the numbers of Indigenous stockmen it once had.
We've just got to keep on working on it, and for every little helicopter pilot that comes out of the show, or a road train driver, or a station manager, or a head stockman that's come through our programs, well, that's a success. Because it's no different to bringing a whole heap of gap year students in from the eastern suburbs of Sydney. None of them stay in the industry, they just come in, have a great time and go back and do what they do. And I'd rather see the effort put in to the Aboriginals who live here and are potential employees, and they'll stay.
David Warriner says the next step is about awareness and communication between the local horsemanship programs, like the one in Ngukurr, and organisations like the Northern Territory Cattlemen's Association.
These instances where there's trainees out there who've done a course or two, are handy and can't get a job, I'd like to know about it.
So there is promise there?
Oh, of course there is, of course there is. If we know that they're there and they're willing and capable of doing stuff, I'm sure that there's work out there for them.
All right, 1, 2, 3.